Everyone thinks that retiring early or achieving financial freedom requires something extreme. They imagine you need to win the lottery. They think you need to own 10 different rental properties and deal with tenants and repairs constantly. They believe you need to get lucky with cryptocurrency or some hot stock tip. Or they assume you need to earn a six-figure salary for decades and save half of it. But what if I told you something surprising? Something that sounds almost too simple to be true. Your entire escape plan from the work until you are old lifestyle could begin with just one house. Not 10 houses. Not a real estate empire. Not flipping properties every year for a quick profit. Just one smart property, used the right way over a long period of time. And the funny thing about this idea is that most people completely ignore it because it looks too simple. They believe that complicated strategies must be better. They think if it is not complicated, it cannot work. But sometimes the most powerful strategies in all of finance are the ones that look boring on the surface. The ones that do not make for exciting conversation at parties. The ones that do not get talked about on social media. Today I am going to show you how a single house, just one property, can slowly turn into a wealth engine that can eventually pay for your life. No lottery ticket required. No secret investment that nobody else knows about. Just patience, smart decisions, and time doing its work. Let us break it down step by step. Most people buy a house in a very specific way. They go out and find the nicest house they can possibly afford. They stretch their budget to the absolute limit. They get the biggest mortgage the bank will approve. They move in and decorate it beautifully with furniture and paint and new appliances. They live there for 30 years, making payments every single month. And when the mortgage is finally paid off after 3 decades, they celebrate. They say to themselves, "No more payments. I am finally free." But there is one huge problem with this picture. That house is now worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even more, and it produces exactly zero income. It is like hiding a giant stack of money inside the walls of your home. Yes, it is valuable. Yes, you could sell it if you needed to. But as long as you are living there, it is not doing anything for you financially. It is just sitting there. Smart investors think completely differently about their home. They do not treat their house like a trophy to show off to friends and neighbors. They treat it like a tool, like a machine that can be used to build something bigger over time. Imagine this simple scenario. At age 30, a person buys a solid home in a decent area. Not a luxury mansion with marble floors. Not a fixer-upper that needs constant work. Just a good, solid, boring property in a stable location. Maybe it is near places where people want to live. Near growing businesses where jobs are being created. Near good schools that families want to send their kids to. Near public transportation that makes commuting easier. Near new infrastructure that the government is building. Places where demand for housing is likely to stay strong over time. Now fast forward 10 or 15 years. 2 things have quietly happened in the background without the owner even thinking about them. First, the house value has slowly increased over time. Not dramatically every year, but steadily. Second, the mortgage balance has slowly decreased with every payment made over those years. That growing gap between what the house is worth and what is still owed on it is called equity. And equity is where things start to get really interesting for building wealth. Most people build equity in their home without even thinking about it. It just happens automatically as they pay their mortgage and as the neighborhood slowly improves over the years. But smart investors look at that equity differently. They see it as a resource that can be used, not just a number to feel good about. Instead of letting that equity sit quietly inside the house doing nothing, they use part of it strategically to create new income. For example, they might refinance their mortgage when interest rates are low. Or they might open something called a home equity line of credit, which is like a credit card backed by the value of the house. But here is the most important rule that separates successful people from those who get into trouble. They do not use that money for spending. They do not use it for cars that lose value. They do not use it for vacations that are over in a week. They do not use it for luxury purchases that will be forgotten in a month. They use it to buy income-producing assets. That might be dividend stocks that pay cash every quarter. It might be bonds that pay interest. It might be a small business that generates profit. It might be another investment property that rents out. The goal is simple and powerful. Turn the value that is locked inside the house into assets that produce cash flow. Turn a wall of equity into a stream of income. This strategy works because three different forces are happening at the same time, working together like gears in a machine. First, there is time. Real estate values tend to grow slowly but steadily over long periods. Not every year, but over decades, the trend has been upward. Second, there is debt reduction. Every single mortgage payment you make lowers the amount you owe. That means your equity grows from two directions at once, the value going up and the loan going down. Third, there is leverage. Real estate is unique because it allows you to control a large asset with a relatively small amount of your own money. You put 20% down, but you get 100% of the growth. These three forces working together create something powerful, a slow but steady wealth snowball. At first it looks tiny, almost invisible. But then it grows. And eventually it can start generating income that replaces your paycheck. Let us imagine a simple example with actual numbers so you can see how this works. You buy a house for $400,000. You put 20% down, which is $80,000. Your mortgage is for the remaining $320,000. Now imagine that the home grows in value at about 4% per year. That is a reasonable long-term average for many areas, though it varies by location. After about 10 years, that $400,000 house might be worth around $590,000. Meanwhile, you have been making mortgage payments for 10 years, so your loan balance might have dropped to about $250,000. Do the math. The house is worth $590,000. You owe $250,000. That means you now have roughly $340,000 in equity. Most homeowners would just look at that number and feel happy. They might think, good, I have a lot of equity. But smart investors ask a completely different question. How can this equity start working for me? If you were to take a portion of that equity and invest it wisely, and if that money earned around 7% per year on average, it could produce thousands of dollars per year in income. Income that did not exist before. Income that shows up whether you are working or not. You might hear people online or see videos saying that you need 10 rental properties or 20 units or an entire portfolio of real estate to be free. But here is the truth that those people do not always tell you. Managing many properties can become a second job. 10 tenants means 10 different personalities. 10 maintenance problems means 10 phone calls at inconvenient times. 10 vacancies means 10 worries about finding new renters. For many people, that becomes exhausting. It becomes stress, not freedom. But managing one optimized property is much simpler. It allows you to focus on quality instead of quantity. It lets you think about long-term growth instead of constant short-term chaos. One good property, used strategically, can do a lot of the heavy lifting without taking over your life. There is another powerful benefit to this approach that most people never talk about. When you know that your home is quietly building wealth in the background, your entire mindset changes. You feel less trapped by your job. You become more confident in making financial decisions. You can take smarter risks in your career because you know there is a foundation underneath you. Maybe you negotiate for better pay because you are not desperate. Maybe you start a business because you have some security. Maybe you take a job you actually enjoy instead of one that just pays the bills. That peace of mind, that feeling of having a plan that is working slowly in the background, is extremely valuable. It changes how you move through the world. Many people believe that financial freedom means having millions of dollars saved up. They think they need 2 million or 3 million or 5 million in the bank. But that is not always true. Real financial freedom means something much simpler and more personal. It means that your passive income, the money your assets produce without you working, covers your living expenses. That is it. When the income from your investments, your properties, your dividends, your side businesses is enough to pay for the life you want to live, you are free. Work becomes optional. Not forced. Optional. And sometimes that entire journey can start with one smart real estate decision made years earlier, long before you even realized what you were building. People spend years of their lives searching for the perfect investment. They try to time the market perfectly. They chase the next hot opportunity. They read about what rich people are doing and try to copy it. But often, wealth is not created by one perfect moment or one brilliant trade. It is created by one good decision, made at the right time, and then held onto for a very long time. Sometimes financial freedom does not begin with a giant portfolio of complicated assets. Sometimes it begins with one well-chosen house, one solid property in a good location, and the patience to let time do the work that only time can do. The boring strategy is often the winning strategy. If this video helped you see money and real estate in a new way, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I break down complex financial ideas into simple lessons that anyone can understand, even kids. Because when people understand how money actually works, they gain something far more valuable than wealth. They gain freedom. The freedom to make choices based on what they want, not based on what they have to do. Thanks for watching. And I will see you in the next video.